When you think of cookies, you may think of traditional styles such as chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin. But cookies can come in all shapes and forms, like the Millionaire Shortbread cookie. This 3-layer cookie is similar to a Twix candy bar. Layers of cookie, caramel, and a thin layer of crunchy chocolate on top. Let's start by adjusting the oven rack to the lower middle position and heat the oven to 350 degrees. Here I have a 13 by 9 inch baking dish with a foil sling. This will make it easier to get the cookies out when you're done. Start with 2 long sheets of aluminum foil. Fold one so that it's 13 inches wide. Fold the second one so that it's 9 inches wide. The 2 sheets are going to be perpendicular to each other in the pan with the extra foil hanging over the edges. So put the 13-inch wide piece in first, and then put the 9-inch wide piece foil on top. Push the foil into the corners and up the sides, making sure to smooth the foil flush to the pan. Now we can start making the crust. In a medium bowl, combine 2½ cups or 12½ ounces of all-purpose flour, a ½ cup or 3½ ounces of granulated sugar, and 3¼ teaspoons of salt. Also, you'll need to add 16 tablespoons of melted butter. We decided to use melted butter in this recipe because it's easier than creaming softened butter, and it creates a very crispy crust. Stir everything together with a rubber spatula and make sure you get all of the flour pockets out of the bottom of the bowl. This dough will start to get a little stiff, so don't be afraid to use your hands if you need to. This looks good because everything is well combined. No flour pockets to be seen. So we have our pan with our foil sling ready to go. Now I'm going to crumble the dough evenly over the bottom of the prepared pan. You might have some larger clumps, so feel free to break them up and spread them about. Using your hands, press and smooth the dough, making sure it's compact and evenly thick. This is a 2-hand job, and if your dough is crumbled evenly across the pan, it should be relatively easy. So when I'm almost done, I like to do a once over and make sure there are no cracks or no holes. Now I'm going to use a fork to pierce the dough at 1-inch intervals. These holes will ensure that the dough won't puff up and trap any air pockets underneath. All right, we're going to bake the crust in the lower middle position of the oven at 350 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, the crust is lightly golden brown and firm to the touch, so it's done. It's still hot from the oven, so I set it on a wire rack, and I'm going to use a sturdy metal spatula. You can use any other flat bottom utensil, but press down on the entire surface of the warm crust. You might want to use a kitchen towel or an oven mitt since the spatula will get really hot. This step helps compress the crust, and it'll make the finished bars a little less crumbly and easier to cut. I'm going to set the crust aside and let it cool for 20 minutes. While the crust cools, we'll work on the filling. The caramel filling definitely caused us a lot of trouble when we were making this recipe, so we're taking some steps to ensure that we get that perfect, silky, chewy consistency. This filling has a very rich flavor, almost like caramel toffee. To make the caramel, you want a large, heavy bottom saucepan. The thick bottom will prevent the caramel from scorching. You also cannot make this without a thermometer. Trust me on this one. Cooking the caramel to the right temperature is key to getting the correct consistency. All right. You're going to start with 1 14-ounce can of sweetened condensed milk. This will make the caramel softer and chewier, which is exactly what we're looking for. To that, add 1 cup or 7 ounces of packed brown sugar. You can use light or dark, but dark sugar will give the caramel a deeper flavor reminiscent of molasses. Add ½ cup of corn syrup, 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and ½ teaspoon of salt. In our recipe testing, we found that the butter would sometimes split from the rest of the sauce. Different brands of condensed milk are processed differently, which means that some of them are heated at a very high temperature, which breaks down the whey protein. Those proteins are important to keep the mixture together. So, to make up for any lost whey, we're going to add ½ cup of heavy cream, which means you can use any brand of sweetened condensed milk you like in this recipe. Cook this mixture over medium heat. Make sure to stir it frequently. Scrape the caramel off the sides of the pan periodically, otherwise it will scorch. You cannot walk away from this caramel. Cook this mixture until it registers between 236 and 239 degrees. This can take anywhere from 16 to 20 minutes, or maybe even longer depending on the strength of your burner. As you're checking the temperature, make sure to move the thermometer around since there can be hot spots in the sauce. Keep the caramel moving or you might notice the temperature will jump around. As you check the temperature, look for visual cues as well. The cooked caramel will look like creamy peanut butter, and it will smell almost like roasted marshmallows and toffee. If you're at higher altitudes where water boils at a lower temperature, the caramel will be ready at a lower temperature, and these visual cues are going to be very important. Okay, so this is ready. It's at temperature, and as you can see, it's darkened and thick. So now, take the caramel off the heat. So here I have my cooled crust. I'm just going to pour the caramel over the crust. You're going to make sure you get all of the caramel out of the pan. Every little bit counts. I'm going to spread it evenly with an offset spatula. But watch out, this stuff is hot. Make sure you're pushing caramel into the corners so that it's touching the pan. I'm going to give it one more smoothing over the top just to make sure it's even. There we go. It's all even and smooth. And we're going to let the second layer cool completely for about 1.5 hours at room temperature. This caramel looks beautiful. It's very shiny and it has completely set. So now we can make the third and final layer of this cookie bar, the chocolate. Melting chocolate can be a little tricky. Chocolate bars out of the package are shiny because they have been tempered, which is a process where the crystalline structure of the chocolate is changed through heating and cooling within a very small temperature range. If you don't temper the chocolate, it'll set up soft and dull. However, we found a clever method to get that snappy, shiny texture when we melted our chocolate. First, finely chop 6 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. We like to use a serrated knife for this because the teeth of the knife break the chocolate into shards rather than chunks. The bittersweetness adds a nice balance to the sweet middle layer. Put the chocolate in a bowl. Now we need to grate 2 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. You can use a rasp grater for this. So I have the chopped chocolate in a microwave safe bowl. Microwave the chocolate at 50% power. If the microwave is too hot, the chocolate will melt too quickly and scorch or seize, meaning it'll stiffen and you won't be able to use it. Stay close by because you need to stir it every 15 seconds. The chocolate will start to melt, but it shouldn't be much warmer than body temperature. Check this by holding the bowl in the palm of your hand. After 1 to 2 minutes, the chocolate should be mostly melted. This is our quick tempering method. As the chocolate melts, the crystal structures change. The chocolate is smooth and shiny, and it's completely melted. Using your spatula, stir in the 2 ounces of grated chocolate. These particles of chocolate are so small that their flakes disperse throughout the melted chocolate without really changing their structure. As the chocolate cools, they will set up the crystal structure that makes chocolate smooth and snappy. Keep stirring until it's smooth and completely melted. This looks great. It's really smooth and shiny. Grab the cooled caramel cookie combo and quickly spread the chocolate evenly over the surface of the filling. I like to use an offset spatula for this. And just like you did with the caramel, make sure you get in the corners and all the way to the edges. Finally, refrigerate the shortbread until the chocolate is just set, about 10 minutes. Refrigerating the cookies will make the chocolate set up faster and it'll be easier to slice when they're cold and firm. All right, the chocolate is hardened, and as you can see, it's still shiny and firm, just like the chocolate bar. Now it's time to finally cut into these babies. Use the foil overhang to lift the shortbread out of the pan onto a cutting board. Pull the foil away, just like so. Give it a lift. Perfect. You'll want a slicing knife or a serrated knife for this, since you're going to be sawing the shortbread. Use a gentle sawing motion to cut the shortbread in half crosswise. First, cut through the chocolate and the caramel layer. Then use a little bit more pressure to get through the cookie layer. You'll have 2 rectangles. Cut each rectangle in half to make 4 strips. Cut each strip into 10 equal pieces. These are rich, so you probably won't want a bigger piece than that. You can also trim off the edges if you want them to look cleaner. Look at those layers. This shortbread can be stored at room temperature between the layers of parchment for up to 1 week. So now that you know for sure that getting your hands a little messy and going the extra mile will result in 3 layers of chewy and crunchy goodness, you'll make the best Millionaire shortbread that's priceless. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thanks for cooking along with me. Ask your questions below and make sure to post a photo in the gallery.
Thanks for watching America's Test Kitchen. What'd you think?
Well, leave a comment and let us know which recipes you're excited to make, or you can just say hello.
You can find links to today's recipes and reviews in the video description.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
See you later.
I'll see you later.